Marcus didn't sleep well anymore. Between the mortgage notices stacked on the kitchen counter, the medical bills from his knee surgery 3 months ago, and the constant worry about his 8-year-old daughter Lily, sleep had become a luxury he couldn't afford. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments where in the world are you watching from. He was a construction foreman by trade, but after the injury, his hours had been cut in half. The house felt too big and too quiet at the same time, and every month felt like trying to hold water in his hands. It was his neighbor who suggested renting out the spare bedroom. "You've got 2 rooms sitting empty, Marcus.
Think about it."
He thought about it for exactly 1 week before posting a simple ad online. 2 days later, 2 women knocked on his door. They introduced themselves as Clara and Nina, sisters. Clara was 28, calm-spoken, with careful eyes that seemed to measure everything before trusting it. Nina was 24, quieter, carrying a small backpack like she'd learned to travel light. They said they needed somewhere safe to stay for a few months. Paid 3 months up front in cash without blinking, and asked only one thing: privacy. Marcus didn't ask questions. He showed them the room, pointed out the kitchen rules, and that was that. He didn't know what their story was, and he told himself it wasn't his business. What he noticed instead was that Clara always helped with the dishes after dinner without being asked. That Nina would sit with Lily at the table and help her with homework in a way that made the little girl laugh for the first time in months. He noticed that they were kind, and for Marcus that was enough. What he did not know, what he had no reason to suspect, was that Clara and Nina Harrington were the sole heirs to Harrington Global, a $5 billion shipping and logistics empire built by their late father. Their father had died 8 months ago, under circumstances that powerful people were working very hard to keep quiet. A distant uncle sat on the board. Lawyers had frozen accounts. Private investigators had been hired. The sisters had been advised by a trusted family attorney to disappear quietly until the legal battles could be resolved safely. Because the stakes were not just money. There had been threats, subtle and then not so subtle, that made staying in their penthouse apartment feel less like home and more like a trap. So they vanished. Into a modest neighborhood, into a modest house, into a life that smelled like laundry detergent and pancakes on Sunday mornings. Weeks passed. Marcus's knee got worse. The doctor said he needed a second procedure or risk permanent damage, and the insurance would only cover 60%. He started working evening shifts at a hardware store just to make up the difference, coming home exhausted, still managing a smile for Lily, still leaving coffee on the counter for his tenants in the morning. One evening, Clara came downstairs and found Marcus sitting at the kitchen table with his head in his hands, a stack of bills spread in front of him. She didn't say anything at first. She just put the kettle on. Then she sat down across from him. "You don't have to tell me," she said. "But you don't have to carry it alone either," he told her. "Not everything, but enough." She listened without interrupting. When he finished, she nodded slowly and said, "You've been very kind to us, Marcus. More than you know." He shook his head. "I just rented you a room." "No," she said quietly. "You gave us a safe place when we had nowhere to go. You let Nina be around your daughter without treating us like strangers. You left coffee out every morning. You fixed the heater without charging us extra. You were kind, genuinely without expecting anything back. That matters more than you think." 2 weeks later, the legal situation shifted. The board's manipulation was exposed by a journalist who had been quietly investigating for months. The frozen accounts were released. The uncle was removed. Clara and Nina were legally restored as the principal heirs and directors of Harrington Global. On the morning they packed their bags to leave, Clara handed Marcus an envelope. Inside was a certified check that covered his surgery, his mortgage arrears, and Lily's school fees for the next 4 years. There was also a short handwritten note. It read, "A house is just walls. You made it feel like shelter. Thank you." Marcus stood at the door for a long time after they drove away. Lily tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, are they coming back?" He looked down at his daughter and smiled, the kind of smile that had been missing for a long time. "I don't know, sweetheart," he said, "but they left something behind." He looked at the envelope in his hand, then at Lily's face, then at the quiet street ahead. He didn't feel like a man who had been given money. He felt like a man who had been seen. And sometimes that is the greatest wealth of all. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And subscribe to our channel, Kindness True Stories, where every story is a reminder that goodness never goes unnoticed.